What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. We got another interview for you today here on episode number 174. Last episode, we had Daniel Vogel back on. We had William Woods. Today, we have new voice on the radio for the New York Mets. Keith Raad, talked to him down at spring training. Had an awesome interview. I think we got a new friend at the stadium now, right, James?
I think we do too. Us and Keith are similar age, like similar grind type of lifestyle in baseball. We talked about his humble beginnings as an announcer, some crazy jobs he's had, starting to get to know Howie, working with the Cyclones a lot, seeing himself ascend through the same organizations, a lot of the players. Cool interview. Talked about a lot of fun stuff, and excited to let you guys hear and get to know Keith a little bit.
So here's the Keith Raad interview.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast, live from Clover Park, Port St. Lucie, spring training for the New York Mets. We have a very special interview with you today. Keith Raad, new radio voice of the New York Mets. Keith, how's it going?
Amazing. Good to see you guys. You guys have been rock stars, so this is an honor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. First question, though, we have to do it. We started Wayne this way. We started Howie this way. Very important question. What is America's favorite tea? And that includes hot or over iced.
It is Bigelow tea.
Bigelow tea. America's favorite tea. Beautiful. All right, 1 for 1. We did it.
Yeah, we got it.
Ready for the booth.
Off to a hot start for sure. Let's talk about your journey a little bit, because you were doing stuff with Brooklyn Cyclones and now you're with the New York Mets. How does it feel to make that transition?
Yeah, it's pretty wild to go from single A baseball to the major leagues now, but it's such a family atmosphere. I mean, being here at Clover Park, you get to walk around and see players that used to be Cyclones, trainers, coaches that used to be Cyclones. So when you get here, it's like, this is family a little bit. So it's a big jump, but it's home kind of thing.
Even just coming through spring training a little bit now, have you noticed any major differences between the day-to-day of being Cyclones broadcaster versus now here with the Mets?
So the broadcasting-wise, you're kind of gathering stories in the same way. You're just talking and listening mostly to guys. I don't have to run back to the front office to answer the phones and sell tickets and sponsorships and then run back out here during BP. So that way the minor leagues and the major leagues are a little different, because now I just get paid to show up before the first pitch and leave when the game is over.
How do you even get started in the industry? How do you make even a jump from the Brooklyn Cyclones to the New York Mets?
So that's kind of a loaded question. Everybody has a different journey. I'm sure if you asked Howie and Gary Cohen what their journey was, it was a lot different. But you just start doing games. I started in college, University of Dayton out in Ohio. Our basketball team went to the Elite Eight the year that I was there, and so you're just doing these games and you're getting mixed up in the big rush of March Madness and going to the Elite Eight and potentially the Final Four. And you just start to build that love for it. And then when you jump in after graduation, the grind hits, and it's like, hey, it's $50 a game or $100 a game until you can land somewhere. And it's hard to put a couple of paychecks together to pay for rent when you're doing that. So to dedicate the time to putting in that work, to getting here now, it makes it so sweet. There's a lot of really good guys and gals that are doing this, that are grinding right now, that may never get here. So, and they're working just as hard as I was.
I think I remember that Dayton run, because I actually went to Ohio State, and they knocked Ohio State out on the path to get to that Elite Eight. That was Aaron Craft's last year.
It was Aaron Craft's last year, and on the cover of the Dayton Daily News, David Jablonski, shout out, this is a deep cut right here. The next day it said the University of Dayton, which was beautiful.
Easiest stroke in the world. So you talked about grinding out a lot of those years there, $50 a game, $100 a game. What was the craziest job that you had on your path here?
So on the way up, I did some Postmates, I delivered food, I worked at Gristedes, a supermarket in New York City. But the most fun was reffing youth hockey and men's hockey leagues. Actually, a 10-year-old broke my wrist, tripped me in front of the crease out in Long Beach on Long Island. And I used to break up fights friendly fights between cops and firefighters who were playing in a men's league during the week. So those were fun, but 6 a.m. on a Saturday, your girlfriend's like, hey, let's do something today. I'm like, I've got to go make $29 reffing this game just because I need it so I can take you on that date, Yeah. So getting here now, it's amazing. I do miss skating though, but that was fun.
So you talked about hockey, basketball, baseball. Is there any sport in particular that you have the most enjoyment, announcing?
So baseball is definitely the most instinctual for me. It goes back to my dad was the Little League manager, and I played shortstop, so those ride homes and growing up, my entire family was a big baseball family, and my uncle had a tryout with the Yankees, and so living in New York, Yankees, Mets, all that stuff, you just grow up in it. Big hockey fan though, live, but baseball is number one for me.
We saw that as you were coming up, you did a full year with the Frisco Rangers, or Frisco Rough Riders, I believe.
Absolutely.
What was it like spending a year in Frisco, Texas as a lifelong New Yorker?
Yeah, it was delicious, actually. Like, the barbecue was next level. I remember before the games, there used to be this barbecue pit, I forget the name of it, below the press box, and you'd get this loaded baked potato, which is not good before a 3-hour game in 98 degrees. But you get a loaded baked potato, they'd have brisket, they'd have melted cheese, and it was just heaven. Absolutely
so
heaven.
good.
Yeah. And they had a pool in right field, the Lazy River in Frisco.
It's fun.
So visiting teams would love it. They'd be on floaties, during BP and stuff, and then during the game, guys are hitting homers into the pond, and people are drinking beers and swimming at a baseball game, which is crazy.
Give us a crazy hockey story. What's the craziest minor league baseball story that you got for us that maybe you can share?
Baseball story that I could share? Oh man, there's boy, put me on the spot here. I'm definitely ruining the show by thinking about this.
Show's ruined.
I think the most minor league story is in the middle of a broadcast when you have to. It wasn't with the Cyclones because it was a turf field, but there's a rain delay and you have to go pull tarp, and you're on the air, and you're running and in the rain, and you're.
You are.
Yeah.
You were pulling the tarp.
Yeah, you jump out there with everybody.
Wow.
You're part of the team in the minor leagues.
Dang.
Part of the team. So the best part about pulling tarp, there's only one because it's awful. I give props to the grounds crew, but is when you do pull the tarp off the field and the game's going to start and the crowd's cheering, and you're like, wow, they're cheering for me. But, you're sweating through clothes all the time, and you have to run back, and okay, the rain delay is over. We go to the top of the 6th inning, it's a bit of a nightmare pulling tarp in the minor leagues.
That's hysterical. I'm thinking about the show Brockmire right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Jim Brockmire going around doing everything, going into the clubhouse, breaking up a fight. You just got to do it all then. But you're joining the Mets radio booth, joining Howie Rose, living legend. What's it been like building a relationship with him, and how well have you gotten to know him so far?
Yeah, so being down at Clover Park here in Florida, it's a good chance to actually get to see him in person and hang out with him. He's taller than I thought he would be from our phone calls and Zoom interactions. But he's such he's so full of knowledge that I just want to sit there. I don't want to constantly ask him all these questions because he's a book. He could write a book. So I'm little by little, hey Howie, what do you think about this? Hey Howie, what do you think about that? And just soaking it all in and letting it breathe. But I would love to be his type of personality, being able to walk around the complex and saying hi to everybody, the person that's running the gate outside. Yeah. Absolutely. So we share that similar personality where we kind of want to get to know every single person. So that's what I love most about his personality and vibing off him.
You guys gotten a chance to talk hockey yet?
We talked a little bit about refereeing because I think one of the equipment managers here in Florida was also a youth hockey referee. So just loving that. But that's where he started.
Yeah.
Rangers, Islanders, all that stuff. So
Absolutely.
He loves it too.
You're also taking the seat Wayne Randazzo, who's now going on to be the television voice of Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Has Wayne reached out to you at all? Any conversations there?
Yeah, he was very kind once the announcement was public to give me a call and kind of give me the rundown. Hey, take care of Howie, make sure he's all good to go. So Wayne was very nice. He set a huge standard in the booth, and it's not new. Mets fans know, going way back to Bob Murphy and Ralph Kiner and Lindsey Nelson. Big shoes to fill, and Wayne was just the next really good broadcaster. That's why he got a great job with the Angels. So, he said, good luck, good luck.
Does it feel real yet? Has it sunk in exactly what's going on?
So I keep getting that question, and I keep kind of saying, kind of.
Yeah.
Because this is a family atmosphere, and I've been down here before. I know some of the faces. It's not totally new. I've been grinding for 8 years, 10 years in the minor leagues. Kind of feel like, okay, at least I've done this before. But until that, they go, hey, you're live, let's go. That'll probably be like, okay, here we are. We've made it to the promised land. I hope I'm ready.
I'm sure you will be. You've also talked about familiar faces, family, coming from the Cyclones. What's the comfort level like seeing players that you have worked with before, like Francisco Alvarez and Brett Baty specifically with the team?
Yeah, seeing those guys down here, they're now wearing their Mets pinstripes because they're in big league camp. And I saw them when they were wearing Cyclones BP gear, taking swings when not really many people knew about them, cared about them. That's the beauty of the minor leagues, is that you can build those relationships early with guys. And when you get to this point, I saw them today, it's just hugs.
Yeah.
Like, you know what goes into getting here as a player. I've seen them firsthand. I've seen them struggle. And for me, they feel that congratulations too. So that's so nice. And I caught them, two phenomenal prospects, who are just getting started in their big league career. It's nice that I know what they can do, and it's good to see what the Mets fans are going to be able to see, and all of baseball.
Speaking of the Mets, how do you feel about this 2022 or 2023? Oh my goodness, it's not 2022. 2023 Mets team.
Yeah, it's kind of not fair that my first big league experience is a World Series contender.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Not fair in the best way. It's great. It's a good unfair advantage. Could be announcing in Oakland.
Yeah, really. I know. It's Steve Cohen has put a target on his team's back in the best way possible, and I think that clubhouse has a lot of dough in there, a lot of Hall of Fame caliber players, and guys that, especially on the offensive side, have been here before after last year, and they could win the whole thing, and they got to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's February now. What would we talk about in October? But yeah, what a great first year to jump in, talk about the stories of not going to be worried about filling time on the air, you know, when there's just winning every single night, hopefully.
No, truthfully, I know, just speaking for myself, I'm a big listener to the radio. I've been listening to Howie since I was growing up, and I just always I got into this habit in college, especially when I was wanting to do things on my computer, didn't want to be in front of the TV, put the Mets in my ears and listen to it. And I think the Mets fan base has probably one of the most vivacious, one of the most outlandish radio audiences in the entire country for baseball, even still. So it's going to be a big opportunity here. So just think about that. What are some of your radio, not even radio, just any kind of broadcasting icons that you've looked up to, other than Howie Rose, of course?
Yeah, there's the vivacious fan base on Twitter is already reaching out, so I'm loving that. I'm going to be able to.
Active.
Okay, I'm going to be talking to you and you and you when we're doing this. Howie's certainly the type of personality that I try to emulate, but before that, Al Michaels is so good. His style of, at the time, Sunday Night Football, just so conversational, but so good in the right moments. But you feel like you're sitting down next to him calling a game. That's my favorite part about it. And you talked about radio. When you pop your headphones in, that one-on-one relationship that you have with the radio, with the broadcasters. My goal is to feel like I'm doing this when I'm talking about Jeff McNeil to plate or Brandon Nimmo or something like that. It's just connecting and talking to you one-on-one.
Do you have an all-time favorite call?
So in Brooklyn, we won at the time, the New York Penn League Championship in 2019, which was the first Brooklyn championship since the Dodgers beat the Yankees in 1955. And Brooklyn baseball is a very historic place. So when they beat the Lowell Spinners, the Boston Red Sox affiliate, my call was, Brooklyn, you have your title. So it's just,
not bad.
In the moment.
I like that.
Thank you. In the moment, it felt like it fit, because in the minor leagues, you try to fill up the stadium, but when the playoffs come around, not really many people know about these games going on. So you have the diehards that are there. So the stadium holds about 7,000 people, and there's maybe 1,500 that are there, but they're so into it. And so a lot of these season ticket holders and fans that have been there for every single pitch, as the game was unfolding, I was watching them live and die with this, and I felt like, this is theirs. If we win this is the first title in Brooklyn since the 50s. It belongs to them, so that's where Brooklyn, you have your title came from.
I think it's really cool, too, that you got to go from, the Mets minor league affiliate right to the major league level. You're making the jump from A-ball to Major League Baseball, which I don't think any player has even necessarily done. I feel like...
Not that I remember. Maybe like Danny Garcia back in the day.
Yeah, something like that. But I just think it's really cool that you kind of came up essentially in the Mets farm system as well.
Homegrown talent.
Absolutely.
Homegrown, finally here. We're excited to have you here. We're super happy that you came out and talked to us. It's a beautiful day in Florida. I'm sure we'll see you around, and thank you so much for joining us here on the Mets'd podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Keith, before you go, plug your socials to the people.
Yes, at Keith Raad, R-A-A-D. Just remember that on Twitter. Someone stole Keith Raad on Instagram, so it's Keith R. Raad. And if you could track down Keith Raad on Instagram, let me know.
R-R-A-A-D?
Yes. See how annoying that is? So just Twitter at Keith Raad.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
All right, that was awesome, right? I mean, talking to Keith Raad was great. I'm sure we'll probably maybe get a chance to talk to him a little bit more, maybe somewhere through the season after he's had a couple games underneath his belt. But that was a fantastic interview, as always, on the Mets'd podcast. Am I right?
Yeah, and we crush it with the announcers. You guys know that. If you go back last year, listen to Wayne, listen to Howie. Now we got Keith. We're kind of building this nice little conglomerate of people on microphones here.
Yeah, a little network of guys who talk for a living. So, I mean, they're a little different than us, a little different. They talk about the game, while you guys are watching it, but we talk about it afterwards. So we're excited to have him back on, and anybody else, and tons of interviews coming at you guys. Wednesday, we'll be back with a normal episode going over spring training, going over World Baseball Classic, all the stuff you can normally expect. And then we'll also drop another special interview episode on Friday as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast feed, whether that's on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen. Make sure you're subscribed, download, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Mets'd podcast. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. See you next time.